Uh, Today we are here to discuss the geostrategic position and location of Pakistan, its challenges and prospects. In our discussion, we have Khaliq Saab.
Sir.
He is has expertises in strategic studies.
Sir.
He has learned from Qaid University, Islamabad, and he has a lot of insights in the strategic challenges, prospects, its implications, needs, uh, implications, and implementations, legalization, its political impacts, its economical impacts, and also its national and international
Sir.
impacts in all the scenarios. So it's our opportunity to learn from him. Myself, Dr. Fazli Hussain from Namal, and he is also my colleague in Namal. Uh, it's just we want to learn because as a common man, there are many ambiguities and there are low understanding. What I think and what I see, what I analyze, that the strategy and strategic needs, what they are, how they are dealt, and what are their the implications. So only the people who has insight in such areas can properly, and I should say in a better way, explain.
Right, sir.
Because a common man see that there is some inconsensus and there is some diversities among our leaders, which are explicitly seen and witnessed in our policy grounds. Something is there.
Yes, sir. Obviously.
We are not on one page from, I should say, from the very beginning. We have problems, but the common man doesn't know about the problems and their grievances and their roots and grounds, and perhaps they are not properly addressed to the nation. So there is something, what that may be. I'm not by myself sure, but I wish such ambiguities should be clear.
Yes, sir. Inshallah.
We are all patriotic. Our political leadership is to the utmost patriotic. They are true to their religion and their homeland and their state. Same wise, but I should say a little bit more, or strategic command, whether that is national command or regional commands, they are also true to their nations and they sacrifices their lives and their properties and their lives and everything.
Exactly, sir.
They are ready and they are doing it. Again, if the situation is this in reality, we are not on one page. We are playing the blames games. If it is for political gains, it's not acceptable. If it is due to ignorance, it's or unfortunately. If this is deliberately, it should be clear because it may be fatal for our national development and national interests. So I want to my audiences and the people, common people, and I should know too, that where is the fault, the flaw is where. First of all, I want you to make it clear that what is mean by the geopolitical location, the geostrategic location of Pakistan. What are the main challenges? First, the location, and then the main and major challenges.
Right, sir. I'm grateful to you, sir, that you have given me an opportunity to be here and to describe the topic that has severe, we can say, consequences throughout the history we see. Basically, let's build a framework, and that framework will be leading to our topic. First of all, the key variables that we discussed. First is the geopolitics, second is the geostrategic, and then in the contemporary era, there is the connotation of geoeconomics. Recently, we have seen that there is a paradigm shift as well in Pakistan's foreign policy. So, first of all, sir, geopolitics. Basically, once geography is used for the national interests, either these interests are short term or long term, you see there is a politics involved in that. This is basically geopolitics. Throughout the history, we see many events, from the fall of Kabul to the war on terror, from war on terror to contemporary era. You see the withdrawal of America from Afghanistan. These events have categorically impacted Pakistan's politics, its location. So, you see, that is the geopolitics. On the other end, sir, there is a geostrategy. Once security matters, either traditional or non-traditional, these matters involved particular location, it comes around the geostrategy. You have armed forces. There are three armed forces in Pakistan, three types: land based, naval, and air force. The circumstances, the importance, and the prominent significance of these armed forces comes around the border. You have the maritime, each and everything that comes in the geostrategic. So, in throughout the history, we see that you are the security state, Pakistan, as a security state. So you have the proximal enemy in the form of India on the eastern border, and on the western border, you have recently seen the Afghanistan's government, which is you see it is not recognizable at all. In the contemporary era, we see the non-state actors in Iran attacking the territorial integrity of Pakistan, or we see in retaliation in a response from the Pakistan, the skirmishes were there. So this demonstrate a geostrategic angle of that particular thing. Now, the geoeconomics. Once you have the economy involved in your location, either through the maritime sea, which is emerging concept of blue economy. You see, the blue economy basically is a business, is a trade route through your maritime sphere. You see, you have the sea lanes of communications. You see, you have the long border. It's not basically the border, but you have the territory in the sea, exclusive economic zones where your trade crosses towards the world. Your trade goes to the America, Europe, African countries, North African countries, and even for East Asian countries. So this is basically using your location, using your territory, a land-based territory, and then towards the sea. So this is the again, in the recent time, Pakistan's policy, there is a paradigm shift, and that paradigm shift is that it's imperative from that traditional geopolitics has been shifted towards the geoeconomics. Now, that policy we see in 2022 in the national security policy, that was basically a brainchild document by Mueid Yusuf, who was the we can say national security advisor to Prime Minister Imran Khan back in 2022. He was basically he has shown that this policy can be dramatically shifted towards the geoeconomics, where the emergence of economy would be on the leading at the top. So once you are using your location, it means that you should get substantial prospects from your that own territory. You see, in history we have faced lot of constraints, lot of sanctions, either the security angle or the political angle, but this policy demonstrates that leave all those elements and come to the new angle of the prospects, sir.
Yeah, that's very great that you talk about the paradigm shift. But the geoposition or the geographical location of Pakistan, also or linkages with the great powers in the great game and the great players, they are playing what I see, not only in economy but their what you should say that they are also working on the strategies and strategical lenses they see the world. The last unfortunate events and the conflicts we saw in these regions had some links and linkages with the great powers like the USA in Cold War, uh, even or affiliation with the capitalist bloc and or ties with the Middle East and also with China and also with Russia and Europe likewise. So everywhere the factor of strategical uh, nature was there. The economical perspectives which has come to position in the world after the from the end of the 20th century in the 21st century, the world has it seems to be going towards the economical entering the economical sphere, and all the things the people are giving off on them. Like Indonesia, we see the biggest example, and that is going to be the seventh big economy in the world because their policy was already shifted from the strategic zone to the economical sphere. But in Pakistan, what I see, we can't change our neighbors, we can't change the world players and play the rule of the play which are put by them, and we are just the helping players in that game. Uh, what I see, the very geography of Pakistan, the geographical location of Pakistan, as we are surrounded by the nations uh, which apparently are in good terms, but you know that but the history show that there is no permanent
Yes.
enemy or foe and friend. In that position, we need relatively more, we should have focused and we had focused on the strategical position to be strengthened. And as you talked about that we are a security state, and the very attributes and characteristics of security states are that everything should be controlled by the security forces or the security uh, intelligentsia and the leaders. In that perspective, the economy remains slow and low in policy making levels. Now, what you see that it's the world, it's our geopolitical location that compels us to be a security state rather than a welfare state or a real democratic state. We are democracy, no doubt, but this is a variant of democracy. There are many variants in the world of democracy, and I should say, unfortunately, that we are not in the best position of democracy. But there we are compelled, we are confined. This is not our choice, but this is our position. Then, what you see now in the contemporary world, we see that the new world order is trying to be established, and many actors on international stage are around. You see, they are trying their best to have allies and to locate their enemies, and we are in a position that we can't clearly decide it. And as you told that all these things uh, to some extent deteriorate our political geopolitical position situation, is likewise the economical
Yes.
position and even the social fabrics of Pakistan. So, what is possible in such a situation that we are surrounded by threats? Whether you believe that these are timely, or these will have some sustainable bad impacts on our the future of our country.
Right, sir. First of all, the great game, sir, you used word. Basically, it was concerned with the policy of USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist, to have an access on the warm waters, and that was obviously through the Afghanistan and with the Pakistan and all that. So initially, British was involved there in the countries like Central Asia and Afghanistan. We see Afghanistan emerged as a strategic depth to Pakistan. So USSR's was policy that there should be a way where we can access to warm water, that is the maritime sea. You see, uh, throughout the region in the Russian Federation, which is contemporary, it is the Russian Federation. It has less access to its sea-based trade, and that was the reason basically that it involved in the Great Game. So that concept is concerned with the response for from the USA in see the event of fall of Kabul and the creation of all such non-state actors we see. So that particular thing related to the warm water access, the Great Game, and no doubt about that, there were lot of untapped resources in regions like Central Asian countries, in the Afghanistan as well, and even you see in the contemporary era there is a China involved in that. And just because of these untapped resources, they are having their diplomatic footprints on the strong side, and they are playing crucially. After you see there is the matrix involved in that area. So on the other end, your question was very relevant that in the presence of a security dilemma throughout the region, Pakistan as a security state, which is undoubtedly it is, how such throughout such circumstances geoeconomics can be achieved. How? That was basically the question. So, in my opinion, sir, in my humble opinion, that Pakistan's security concerns would be increased as India has been progressing, as India has been increasing its military capabilities. Because you have a mighty and a proximal enemy in the form of India on the eastern border. You have non-state actors just like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, that is basically uh, formed, we can say, in the back in the 90s and emerged as a non-state threat towards you. So in that context, and on the other hand, you have a lot of other non-state actors residing in Afghanistan region. So you see that combination of threats towards your state, definitely it makes sense that how security states can be formulated. So even Pakistan is a security state, you see, but the shift in the policy, that is for the geoeconomics, is demonstrating that you should use your blue economy, you should use your location, you should use your resources throughout your country. There are a lot of resources in Pakistan, a lot of untapped resources, tapped resources, but there is the poor in management. Yeah, that poor in management frames the context that you should work on that. You should work on the research and development of that. You have lot of industries. It's like you have a good agriculture, but you see what framework, what circumstances which makes Pakistan a security state is won't be helpful as much to acquire that policy in the area. But you should take steps, and we as a citizen of Pakistan, we should contribute to that economic policy to get out of these economic elements to Pakistan. So again, in the current dilemma, in the contemporary issues, you see there is the we can say the concept of Cold War 2.0 in the context of United States and China, Republic of China. Uh, in bipolar world order, initially you see there was the ideological drift between the USSR and the US, but in the contemporary era, that ideological drift is absent. You see, they are contesting on the various grounds, either on the technological grounds, economic grounds, and the political grounds. But you see, there is the absence of proxy war that was the prominent in the initial period during the bipolar world. That means these two countries, the great powers, the USA and the China, are involved to manipulate their interest. This is basically a politics. International politics works on that principle. It is the anarchy. There is a no central government at the center. There is a no any authority that can contribute towards the progress and the prosperity of. But as a nation system, we see you have the population, you have the demography to protect, and that can be. You see, there is a peaceful rise of China, and in that context, Pakistan's relation with the China and the relation with the USA are balanced on the context of the politics and the economy. You
Yeah.
see, so with that context, you should work on the new policy that is based totally based on the economy and the model of the economy. You have the model of special economic zones. You see, in back in 2022, the commerce minister has suggested those specific economic zones where the your maritime affairs can be lead, your security of that matters can lead. So those special economic zones would be prominent playing role in that economic policy. You increase trade with the great powers, and that is basically what you should do in the formation of so-called security state. You should acquire those steps.
Yeah, that's very great. Some questions arose here that we have resources, as you told. We can cash out our geo location, geographical
So,
location. Geopolitical, geoeconomical are after or your real location or your location on ground.
so
We are a gateway for Central Asian countries. Also, we are a gateway for China, and we have a very important maritime location and or a special economic zone. in the sea or seashore is very important. Similarly, we have China on one side and Middle East on the other side, which is energy hub, and they need energy for their growth. Similarly, after the demise of USSR in 1991, and the uh, in-depth controversies and contradictions on ideologies, especially the communist and the capitalist world. Uh, but one question that perplexes me is that we are from the very first day here in this location, and we didn't work on it. We were intervened in the wars against communism, the expansion of communism. The war was played putting gun on our shoulder. The or eastern border or this area around like the Afghanistan and the Iran and the western side, the eastern side too. But there are some other things arises here. For example, I can't say that our policymakers or intelligentsia or leaders were unaware of the importance of our resources and the ways of the trades. But we are always, as over the world is affected by the uh, things that is happening around, especially in security area, also in the economical area. We saw some developments in the history, like the capitalism, like the colonialism, like the imperialism, like the new imperialism, like the lingual imperialism,
Yes.
like the cultural imperialism. These were all considered to be tools to surrender someone and to uplift someone and to uh, protect the national interest, to expand and to promote and develop national interest. But in all this, our nation, as a Pakistan, we are left behind.
So,
There may be some lapses in policies. There may be some unconsensus on the policy making or the what you say, the very vested interests of some people, and like you say about the Taliban factors and the threats, the non-conventional threats, and some of the conventional
convention.
threats were there, and we were all the time dealing with these things. But also we should say that the war and some people inside the country is also blaming us, or decision makers, for the creation and unskillfully playing in this game, and that are the consequences we are suffering and we are seeing now. In such a position, as you told, that we are trying on, Pakistan is seemingly trying to have a paradigm shift on economy rather than our strategical and the security basis. But yesterday you saw the missiles test of India,
Yes.
Agni, and also we have other, and some peoples are going to security system 400, and so someone are trying to have the iron dome, and
Yeah.
someone is trying to have the satellite weapons, and we saw the media war and the satellite war, and there are different
Exactly, sir.
from coming from the first generation warfare to the sixth and
Fifth
fifth
generation.
generation
Exactly.
warfare now. So that is one side of all these things. Uh, what is the role, our basic question. We come back to our basic questions, that which is nature. We are located here on the map of the world, and we are in a very important uh, driving seat. We are here
Yes.
in the Gulf, in the Indian Ocean, in
Yes.
the on the land, like Afghanistan, like the Central Asia, like the Russia, like the Iran, the Central Asia, and also this side, and
Exactly, sir.
behind the what you say on the north, the China, which is a superpower, and the CPEC. We are working on it. That is an initiative to it was its. Uh, this is this position exactly and surely play a very magnificent role in the national development. But so long we, why we ignored this passage, why we couldn't utilize this position for the growth of our economy. What you see, one opinion is here that the great players, the
Hmm.
players of the great game,
Yeah, got it.
didn't allow us to do it.
Exactly.
Or what you say?
Sir, let's discuss about the context that has been prevalent from the history into the contemporary time. You see, we followed the geopolitical model, conflict oriented model, and that conflict oriented model, we see there are a lot of players that were involved in manipulation of this very important location of the country Pakistan possesses. You see, you have the proximal enemy. They talked about the India. We talked it. India is a huge military base, and obviously it is facing two front warfare, one with the China and other with the Pakistan. And their defense minister categorically stated that this is the two front warfare, and one with the China, other with the Pakistan. So, with the advancement of that military capabilities, and in retaliation, so you are again maintaining that status quo by increasing your capability that need some sort of resources. You see, that balance of power basically demonstrate how military capabilities can be confronted with the enhancement of those military capabilities. One point. Sir, second point for that matter, you have destabilized sort of politics in your country throughout the history. You see, there was the elements, you see, there were the problems in the constitutional developments as well. With that context, your economy was not stabilized as you thought of. And pre-partition and the post-partition thing, that you got less resources and all that dilemma that prevailed earlier. These less resources has also impacted the current status of Pakistan, how institutions were framed, how institutions were developed. So some sort of link you see over there. Again, the manipulation of great powers in your location. We can say categorically, we can say they used you. They use your location for their interest. You see, in invasion of USSR of Afghanistan, that invasion has led to the formation of non-state actors. That is resulted into different faction-based politics as well, and you have lot of security concerns from there. In different countries, you have metropolitan cities, you face the terrorist attacks over there. So these are the problems from the initial point of view. After that, you joined the war on terror, and that was severe kind of policy that Pakistan adopted it, and that is from my humble opinion, that they stated that be with us or against us. We had no option. If we would have been that much antagonist of that, then we would face the consequences. We go for it, we went for it, and again, these threats also contributed to destabilize the Pakistan's not only the politics but also the economy. So again, sir, there is basically this very phenomena of security prevailing, and you importantly mentioned that this is basically leading from the first generation warfare to the fifth or the sixth generation warfare. We see there is the fifth generation warfare currently happening in different countries, and in developing countries especially you see in Pakistan. So basic fifth generation warfare is the combination of all the tactics, all the strategy enemy imposed on you. This can be the politics, this can be the economy, the social sector, and you see the military ambiguity is created over there. So fifth generation is something that is related to the psychology of the people, psychology of the you see the cities and the relation between the state and the cities, and that there is the, and sir, more importantly, factor that comes into my mind is of the separatist politics prevailing in different sector, different units of the federation in Pakistan, provinces. You see, you have Balochistan. There is the thought process of the separation as in a country. You see, you face the consequences in 1971, and again, your proximal enemy, India, helped in that context. And again, in that context of fifth generation warfare, it is also helping the separatist ideologies or separatist set of mindset people. On the other hand, you have the Sindh community as a whole. You have the mindset of Sindhu Desh as a separate ideological grounds. We see this is the context of security dilemma that has been created in the domestic politics, the stability, which can be impacted on the governance structure of the country, the federation structure of the country, the republic status again, and even you have lot of elements in the form of merger of FATA to the CAPI. You see, the resources management is destabilized over there as well. You have illicit trade throughout your country, direct, the context of direct and non-direct taxes. So these all problems have created a vacuum, a power vacuum that can be acquired by the phenomena of that security perspective. You see, so in that context, economic security is less concerned in the history, but as of now, it is the emerging concept. It is the emerging type of a thing that can be that can be utilized in such a way to protect the national interest, to protect the sovereignty, and to protect international image in great power politics. You should go for the institutions. You should protect the integrity of your state at international forums as well. You do diplomatic pursuits for that. You use the diplomacy. You use foreign policy objectives. That very context for the questions arise on that. So
the discussion and conversation, in my mind, now it's clear that from the very first day of Pakistan, we had three grounds to be developed.
so
The first was to take measures to stabilize our security,
so
or sustainability, or existence was on the first point, and that was our priority. The second was to have a nation in the name of Pakistan, is after the nation state definition, that the people who are living within a boundary should be one nation.
so
And that one nation was to be established in an area where the concept of one nation was not and was never present.
Right.
That should be, that would be, that must be our second priority at least, to have national integrity. But unfortunately, again, I should say that we didn't work on this platform, and the consequences and the results we saw in 1971. India was involved, other countries were involved, also some internal factors were there, but that occurred, that happened.
Happens.
Uh, Even after that, we didn't learn any lesson. And now, as you say, that currently we are not an integrated nation. There are, what I think, two forces that get together, or that bring together, that provide sustainability to the nation, that is the armed forces and that is our religion. The third should be our language, Urdu, but
Yeah, these are the basic grounds. Exactly, sir.
but that's also a one ignored corner in all this. Now, the third is the economy. As a nation, we should work on it. And in the history, we see that the Ayubian era was the topmost economical era of Pakistan, and at that time we were sound on that ground. There were a lot of factors, all that. But now, uh, in the history past, we had some plans, the 5 years plans for the development, but they were ignored. And now even we have for 10 years, but they are not workable as such. One other thing you has told about, that we are an agriculture country, and we are also have stepped into the industrial stage,
Sir.
but that is undeveloped today. So we have a lot of lands which are deserts. Uh, Somehow they, it is due to the nature, as there is a very low rainfall, but we can do something for it. Like we have examples in the Middle East, but we are not working on that. Recently, the last year, I have heard that some initiatives has been made in that respect, and that can give something with to us. The other are, we are rich in resources, like we have oils, we have gas, we have minerals, a lot of, even we have gold. But they are not so skillfully developed. Uh, there are, a common man can think that if we are so rich of resources, we have blessed by Allah, we have technical minded people, we have leaders, we have very patriotic leaders, we have very sincere people in leadership, then the question is natural to rise. Why? Why we are underdeveloped? We are growing weak day by day on all aspects, like on international ground, on international stage, on economical stage, on even governance is not of the state status that we can say that we will develop. Common man is in trouble all over the world, but we are suffering more than
Exactly.
other regions. So, where the fault is, we are trying to locate the fault line in all these dilemmas. I should say this is the dilemmas.
Sir, I got your point, and that is very much relevant. Why we are not able to tap those resources, and why we are still underdeveloped country, and still we have those resources as well. My take on that is very much the point that I already talked about is that there are a lot of flaws in that, in Pakistan's initial policies. You mentioned about the Ayub era, and that era in the history of Pakistan was one of the most prominent eras in the history. You see, even the Vietnam model, Malaysian model, those people come to Pakistan and they take the measures that this step Pakistan is taking, we should copy that. They copied it,
Yeah.
and yes, they copied it, and Vietnam model is totally built on that. You see, the growth of the economy of Vietnam is unbelievable after that, and it is still working on that. You see, these example sets are showing that something is missing there, something is vacuum created over there, and in my opinion, that vacuum is related to the first, the politics, second is the security. First, politics. How the role of institution is very much relevant to every sphere of a state. You have the government, and government is run by the institutions, that is, you have executives, you have judiciary, and you have the other institutions, we can say the cabinet and all that, prime minister and the cabinet president. So on that behalf, you have institutions, either the military institutions or the those economic okay, finance ministry and all that. So the role of these institutions is very much relevant to these to the vacuum created in the history. First point, the interference and all that. Every institution has its own interference on such affair. If you talked about the recent issue of Rico Dick, that is the gold mines, and institutions are interfering on that very project. You see, back in 2021, it was certainly certified that any the firm from the international arena can come and invest in this Rico Dick case, and so you face the institutional interference over there, and that project has been
Loved.
stopped, and again we see the consequences, and in recent time it has again emerged as the project, and we see the sanctions from that economic point of view. Second point is, again I would repeat that, that is the security angle. Your total focus was on the security matters. You were not at the stage to undermine the significance of your location, your resources, and those aggregate policies that we see in the land reforms back in Ayub era, and after that the nationalization policies of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in your state. You see, those involvement of the institution in the security dilemma that has been created from the international arena. You have the wars, blocks were in making. These all the factors that has also contributed. Again, sir, in a recent time, back in 2014 and 13, China's President Xi Jinping visited Pakistan and signed the project, a brainchild project, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And in this project, there were elements of that, and leading from the industries to the 5G program, and the special economic zones, and all the infrastructure development projects. But that happened, we see. But sir, the problem is that this project is currently stopped, and I would see, and this is the major flaw in the political vacuum that has been created from the institutions. Pakistan's government come for the 5 years. You see,
Yeah.
it comes for the 5 years and it plans 5 years accordingly. That's it. This is the short-term strategy. There is a no long-term strategy. This short-term strategy is not leading to the major plans that we are following for the betterment in the economy, betterment in the economic policies and the pursuits and all that. That point. CPEC's prospect is very much relevant to the geostrategic location. But on the other hand, sir, there are a lot of threats, security from the domestic and sanctions from the international politics as well. The international system, we can say, so called. You have the manipulation from the great powers as well. And categorically, we can mention that there is involvement of the great powers in that CPEC manual. Other factors are, in my humble opinion, is that the faction politics in Pakistan. Pakistan's politics dividends are ingrained in, we can say, the mindset of disparity. You have the factions. On the one side, we can say, on the record, we can say that you have the communities, the Shia community and the Sunni communities and all such communities. You see the disparities and the factor of not sustenance wala factor. You see there is a dilemma in between them. So these very factors are showing that how Pakistan's geostrategic or geo-economic elements, yeah, its road or its path to prosperity is demoralized, destabilized, and all that. So,
In our discussion, I got your point, and now I'm clear that democracy and its format and its planning for 5 years matter, and it has some effects on the development and on the both strategical and economical and political and even social. But on the other hand, we see in the world a lot of variants. Some are for 2 years, some are for 3, some for 4, and some for 7 years. Uh, or system or variants of democracy when we are going back to authors for 5 years. But unfortunately, we had a very let a very a few examples that our government has completed its tenure of 5 years. But one thing in our history, like we see in the Ayubian era, there was no democracy at all at that time. Even he involved the people on the very a special system of basic democracy, BD
yes,
members and BD elections, but that was not at all the democratic platform. But even then, we term that era as the most prosperous, and Pakistan developed at that time on a very high rate, and we were example for the world. But after the fall of Ayub, we led to partition.
exactly.
We see that some actions has its roots. Uh, Here we can say that the roots of partitions were wrapped and were strengthened during that reign of dictatorship, and that burst out after when we went into election. That was one thing. The other thing is that the country we are living in have a lot of factions and fractions and even sectarianism and political instability and political diversities, and even have no consensus on nationalism like
Yes,
Pakistanis, and
exactly.
they are there, and they are always there in countries everywhere it is, even in India. We have a lot of such diverse opinions and diverse systems, and even we have there the freedom movements like the what you say the uh, Sikh movement,
Yes,
the
Manipur movement
Rajasthan,
and
and a lot of there are, but still they are developing as a nation state. Now, another perspective comes here that after the war with India in 1965 and after that in 1971, we saw a very drastic threat, security threat, and that compelled us to be a security state.
exactly.
Although it was said that we were police state and we then shifted to security state,
Security
and
state.
we were never the welfare state. That is another hand. But what is reality which I see is that we have real threats. We are surrounded. And another historical background is here that our society was not transformed and not re-established, which should be established after the partition. The system, the institutional frame of Pakistan remained as it was uh, tackled and it was tricked by the British uh, intelligentsia, the British policymakers, and the British administrators for colonial state. And the very frame of our institution was is made for a colonial system,
Right, sir.
and we didn't work over it. And still, we have all the institutional frames in as they were framed by the Britishers. So, when institutions are working, they are transforming, they are developing, and they are reforming nations. We were slaves, no doubt, we were slaves, and we are slaves. Our policies were never free, are not free, and I can't believe that will be free in near future. Maybe after one or two generation, we achieve the status of a free nation, but still, uh, here I should clear that it's not just only our faults. This is not only our leadership, but we are also under the threats, under the conspiracies, under the vested interests of other nations. Other nation means the nations who are framing the orders of the
Exactly.
world.
Sir, this is very much relevant opinion, and I respect that you have brought such fruitful points for the discussion. Uh, Faults lies in the we can say eyes of the beholder, but there would be the role of institutions and all that, the social system you followed, the capitalism model and all that, and the manipulation from the great power. So that discussion revolves on the similar point that there is the less path to the prosperity and the development. We talked about the 5 year plan, that how a government only forms that 5 year plan and no not thinking about the long term, no doubt. uh, in the world politics or in the political system of the globe works on that model, that a government comes and do that plans and strategies and all that. But sir, uh, in my opinion, that if a planning and the development planning is done in a such a way that it should have long term consequences, the consequences on the optimistic sides, the consequences on the development side and its implication and so forth. In my opinion, that planning, that strategy of policies should be maintained in a way that it should have long term implications on the optimistic side, in my opinion. But Pakistan is far behind that. Even we see that institutional role is flawed and such things. uh, this is very much relevant point, that the social structure, or we can say the political manipulation, is also the way that is also imposing threats to the development. And no doubt, uh, manipulation of great powers, or we can say those countries that are developed, have on developing countries. And this very relations is from the history and in the contemporary as well, that the dilemma of global north and global south is prevalent. It is also impacting Pakistan's not only the politics but also economy and other spheres as well. So these points can be concerned with that issue, that it is really depleting its development process. That depletion of the process is not getting into that much fruitful growth that Pakistan is always wanted to. But sir, with the coming time, and we see there is a advancement in technologies, we see there is advancement in business structure, and all the infrastructure development is there. So Pakistan should work on the policies that are from the challenges, and it can lead to the prospects. And those prospects can be from the projects like China Pakistan Economic Corridor. You have the project like CASA 1000, and that is CASA 1000 is the electricity project. You have the TAPI
Yes.
project. You have Iran, Tehran, India, and Pakistan's gas pipeline. You see, you have the relations with the Russian energy sector. Even much prominent sector is the maritime sector,
Yeah.
and Pakistan is following that model. Once I was in a university and we study about the blue economy, the new terminology. So blue economy, I already contextualized it with the maritime sphere. Pakistan should go for it. Pakistan has lot of potential in the ship breaking,
Yeah.
in the ship fishing, exclusive economic zones, and the resources over there. Pakistan should tap these resources, and should work in the governance structure to regulate those resources and all that first. uh, on the other hand, prospect side, projects like CPEX are very much relevant. Okay, and should go for the like industrialization model that every country is adopting. You go for, if you are agrarian state, go for the modern techniques, and those techniques can be state of the art technologies. Your drip irrigation system is old, you should renovate it, you should work on it. And again, no doubt resources are required for that, but with the passage of time, each and everything is possible. You should apply those long term policies in this structure system, and these will be fruitful in the future. These are the prospects for the strategic location. One point for the international politics is that in recent time we see the Taliban government in Afghanistan. Recognition of that government is very much relevant to the prosperity and stability of countries in the region of Afghanistan. Recognition of Taliban, and we see the diplomatic steps from the China, some EU countries, not categorically on the record, but indirectly. You have the Tehran and Afghanistan on a good front relations, Turkmenistan and all that, Central Asian countries. Again, you have the international forums, just like Shanghai Cooperation Organizations, which is very much relevant to the prosperity and elimination of terrorism and non-state actors as well. The geopolitics concerned over there. So these forums, international forums, can also play a substantial role for the prosperity of nation like Afghanistan. And it is said, if secure and peaceful Afghanistan is there, then this would be beneficial for Pakistan as well. It has positive impacts for that. uh, no doubt you have the proximal enemy in the eastern border India. So that eastern border enemy, you should go for the trade relations, bilateral trade. That bilateral trade would also help your citizens at the state domestic level. Those citizens, if your citizens are prosperous, then your state is the prosperous. So these points are good for the strategic location that concern for the prospects in the future.
Best of discussion is we would I would like to continue it, but it's going longer for the viewers. I would like to thank you.
So
Uh, Thanks for your so fruitful suggestions. One suggestion from me is that, as you told, we have the capacity, we have the power, we have the resources, we have the tactices, and we have the skills. But one thing that seems missing is honesty. We should be honest, and we will pray God to fill our hearts with honesty, to be honest with our nations. We have a lot of things, we have a lot of gifts from our Allah. We should pray Him,
inshallah, sir.
and we should mend our mind. We should polish our iman
Iman, sir.
and our trust in God and our honesty in the light of Quran and Sunnah.
Inshallah, sir.
Uh, may Allah bless Pakistan and Pakistani with glory. Thank
Inshallah,
you,
sir.
sir.
Sir,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much, sir. Thank